Я хотеть мне, не хотеть мне, какая
Ну, как
разница.
зритель.
Зритель, я особо так, как раньше, там, сверхъестественно сидеть, смотреть все бои.
Да, да.
Dar la oportunidad porque era el chico pequeño y ahora el chico pequeño es él, que está buscando la misma oportunidad que yo estaba buscando. Es como no he visto más hipocresía en mi vida, pero...
Order of things and how they should be. But I love Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. And you know what? I don't even mind an Ilia Topuria Charles Oliveira in the meantime for a title shot. I think that there's a theory about, you know, if there's a belt on the line, it's much bigger.
Yeah.
But people just love the two names.
With Islam Makhachev moving up to 170 to fight Jack Della Maddalena and vacating the lightweight belt for Ilia Topuria, the UFC community has gone into a frenzy with their reactions. Taking a trolling stance on the whole situation, MMA guru slammed Dana White for constantly making outrageous announcements in the UFC world. He pointed out how the matchups seem to get crazier by the day, shifting from Islam versus Ilia to now Ilia versus Charles. At the same time, he criticized Ilia Topuria, claiming that he no longer carries the same momentum or power he once had.
Dana should start promoting fights again. Dana White's bald head on a selfie screen of a camera. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Dana White is just like, give me my phone, kid, I'll announce it. You know what? I don't even mind an Ilia Topuria Charles Oliveira in the meantime. Maybe just a guy.
Change the whole dynamic of the fight.
It's round 2, round 3, huh? He's not as powerful anymore.
Meanwhile, in a discussion with Demetrius Johnson about how a fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria might have played out, MMA guru stated that he would back Islam all the way. He confidently predicted that Islam would have scored a knockout against Topuria in the second round. While acknowledging Ilia's fighting abilities, he asserted that Islam's dominance would have completely shut him down and not even allowed him to get into the fight.
Who you got? Ilia Topuria, Islam.
I've got Makhachev.
Makhachev, okay.
Yep.
I got Makhachev as well.
And I've got Makhachev second round TKO with a knee in the clinch.
Oh, damn, you going bad rounds too.
Yeah,
huh?
I think he'll shoot a couple takedowns. Ilya will stuff it. Ilya will catch him a few times and people will go ooh and ah.
Yeah.
And then when they clash again, I think Makhachev will go grab him. Yep. Ilia will think, oh, he's shooting again.
Yep.
Tie clinch, bang, bang, body, knee to the head. Ilya's all of a sudden stumbled. Downhill from there.
Okay,
that's what I think.
Okay, I'm not a guru because I don't know what he's doing. If he wins it, I don't know. I think if he wins it, it's going to be either later rounds, maybe by the Dars.
At the same time, Dana White's shocking announcement has sent the UFC world into a frenzy. He revealed that Islam Makhachev has vacated his lightweight title to move up to welterweight, where he'll face Jack Della Maddalena. Dana noted that the odds would have been in Islam's favor if his opponent had been Belal Muhammad. This unexpected move has now sparked critical acclaim and intense debate across the MMA community.
Lightweight champion Islam Makhachev is going to move up to the welterweight division to face Jack Della Maddalena. What do we all love about Islam? If he had moved up to fight Belal, he was a 5-1 favorite. Moving up to fight Jack, the odds makers have this fight at even.
Furthermore, following Dana White's announcement that Ilia Topuria will move up to lightweight to face Charles Oliveira for the title vacated by Islam Makhachev, Michael Bisping shared his thoughts on the situation. While he acknowledged that Topuria has every right to make moves for his own career, he criticized the UFC for placing a 2-division fighter in a title fight so quickly. Bisping noted that this decision has created a lot of confusion and unrest within the division.
All know Ilia Topuria is moving up to lightweight, and he will face former lightweight champion and number 2 ranked Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title.
And you know what? Fair play to this guy. That takes a tremendous amount of honor and courage to do that. Yes, he's worked very hard. Yes, he's the best lightweight fighter that the sport's ever seen. He defended the belt 4 times, but he's moving on to fresh pastures and he's going after Jack Della Maddalena. Now, the story is, of course, he wanted to be a 2-weight division champion. He wanted the same luxury that he afforded to Alexander Volkanovski for him to be a simultaneous 2-weight division champion. But as we know, bringing in 2-weight division champions and creating interim titles has caused nothing but backlogs and shit shows. So of course we're talking.
Michael Bisping went on to assert that being part of a division comes with a responsibility to the sport and the fans, especially when it comes to defending a title or moving up properly. He acknowledged that Islam Makhachev made the move for his own reasons, particularly to fight Jack Della Maddalena in what many see as a move tied to avenging Belal Muhammad, but stressed that such decisions should still consider the integrity of the division.
But if you're the champion, you have an obligation to the sport, to the fans, and to everyone else in the division to honor and defend that title or to move on. And that is what Islam Makhachev has done here, because he wants to move on, he wants to be a two-weight division champion, and he wants to take that belt off Jack Della Maddalena and get revenge for Belal Muhammad.
Blasting Ilia Topuria for criticizing Islam Makhachev's move to the welterweight division in a recent tweet, Michael Bisping called out the hypocrisy and irony in Ilia's comments. He pointed out that Ilia himself has done the same in his career, moving up divisions and vacating belts, making his criticism seem inconsistent and unfair.
It's nothing but backlogs and shit shows. So of course, we're talking about the heavyweight division there. John Jones right now, he came out, he said, listen, he's very happy. He's living his best life. So if anyone wants to call him a duck, he doesn't care because he's living his best life.
I got people in the chat calling me a duck. Meanwhile, I'm living my absolute best life. I don't know if it's considered ducking when you're living good. I don't think it works like that.
Well, I'll do another video on that because that's not what this video is about. But if you're the champion, you have an obligation to the sport, to the fans, and to everyone else in the division to honor and defend that title or to move on. And that is what Islam Makhachev has done here, because he wants to move on, he wants to be a two-weight division champion, and he wants to take that belt off Jack Della Maddalena and get revenge for Belal Muhammad. Now, if you're Ilia Topuria, La Leyenda, or El Matador, it's hard to keep up with the nicknames, but I tell you what, this man is sensational. He can call himself whatever he wants. He's talking a bit of shit. He's come out and said, on June 28th, another dream will come true. I'll be the champion of the lightweight division. Charles, my apologies in advance. I'm just fighting for my dreams. It's unfortunate that Islam Makhachev had to run away. Now, first of all, you probably straight away see the hypocrisy or the irony in Ilia Topuria saying that, okay? Because he only defended the belt one time against Max Holloway, and then he moved up. He essentially did the exact same thing that Islam Makhachev did, but he did it much, much quicker.
On the other hand, Ilia Topuria has slammed Islam Makhachev for vacating the title, claiming that Islam has been avoiding him by saying he was too small, only to now move up and face a smaller opponent himself. Topuria asserted that Islam's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, should be thankful he didn't get the chance to beat his star. He went on to call Makhachev the biggest hypocrite he's ever seen, accusing him of running away when a real fight was on the table.
Es el mayor hipócrita que yo haya visto jamás. A mí me decía que no me quería dar la oportunidad porque era el chico pequeño y ahora el chico pequeño es él, que está buscando la misma oportunidad que yo estaba buscando. Es como no he visto más hipocresía en mi vida, pero a mí me tendría que dar las gracias a Ali por no haberle metido una paliza a su estrella y que el día de hoy que todavía tenga un valor y que tenga algo de credibilidad es gracias a mí. Ya que todo el mundo quería ver, yo estaba dispuesto a hacerla con lo que estaba en mis manos.
Meanwhile, Islam Makhachev's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, has voiced his support for Islam's decision while responding to Ilia Topuria's criticism. He insisted that Islam made the right move, explaining that had Belal Muhammad won, Islam likely would have stayed in the lightweight division. However, with Jack Della Maddalena's rise in popularity and strong performances, Islam felt the need to take on that challenge. Abdelaziz emphasized that Islam truly deserves the opportunity to move up to welterweight and become a two-division champion.
If Belal were to win, Islam was never going to fight Belal and he's going to stay in the division. I think Belal gained so much fans from this fight and he'll be back. You know, there's no doubt in my mind. But Islam have beaten everyone in this division. Literally, you know, Dan Hooker, Armand, Charles Oliveira. He's on a 15-fight winning streak. Finished 10 of his last 9 opponents. It's nothing else. Anybody deserved to go fight for a second title in Islam. And the reason was he wasn't going to do it because Belal was the champion.
Ali Abdelaziz pointed out that Islam Makhachev is a true champion with strong support from everyone inside the UFC, including Dana White, who has openly stated that Islam can do whatever he wants. He acknowledged that Belal Muhammad had an off night against Jack Della Maddalena, but expressed full confidence that Islam will beat Jack when they face off. Referring to the upcoming fight between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira, Ali noted that while they can battle for the title, the real and rightful champion will always be Islam Makhachev.
You know, in the UFC, it was like, you know, even I was talking to Dana and he's like, if anybody deserves, Islam can do whatever he wants. And And if Islam go up, he's the champion. You have these two guys, Charles Oliveira and Ilia, fighting, and they can fight for the title. But everybody knows who's still the champion of this division, because he never lost the title, right? Now Islam get to fight end of the year, fight Jack Maddalena, who's a really good fighter. Give credit where all credit due. And I just think Belal, absolute warrior, he just have a little off night, and I believe he can still beat Jack.
Backing Islam Makhachev's decision to move up to welterweight, Gilbert Burns also voiced his support, stating that 170 is the right division for Islam and that he made the move at the right time.
That's going to be a great fight. Islam is working very hard. He's being vocal that he wants to go up to 170. I think he's big. I think he's a big boy. He killed himself to make 55. I think that's the right division for Islam. He just tweeted something after the fight that he will not vacate the title, and then he vacated the title. I don't know. I think he was a little, okay, if you're going up, we gotta, I don't know, but probably that was in the negotiation. And yeah, I like him moving up. I proving himself. He's #1 pound for pound right now. It's a good fight. Jack and Islam closer than people think, especially with Jack Della Maddalena doing a lot of training with Volk.
Gilbert Burns noted that both Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev are hard-working fighters who truly deserve this matchup. He said it's a great fight and expects it to be a much closer contest than many think. While he praised Islam as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters, he also believes Jack has a real shot at winning.
Study a lot of answers. It's closer than people think, this fight. I really like this fight. I don't have time right now. I didn't have time to dig deep a little too much in that fight, but I think it's way closer than people think. And JDM has a clear shot on beating Islam,
At the same time, Michael Bisping criticized Ilia Topuria for making such arguments, calling his reaction a clear example of hypocritical behavior. He noted that actions like these undermine the dignity of the sport and show a lack of respect for a fighter's right to make decisions about their own career.
He's saying that Islam Makhachev has run off to the welterweight division, obviously to avoid him. Now, when you look at Islam, he's defended the belt 4 times, 2 times against Volkanovski, 1 time against Renato Moicano, and 1 time against Dustin Poirier. So if you wanted to be a critic, if you wanted to talk a little bit of shit, if you wanted to paint a bullshit narrative, you can say that only one of those title defenses really matters, because Renato Moicano was on really short notice, Volkanovski 2 times with a featherweight coming up, and Dustin Poirier, man's a legend, fighting for his final fight soon against Max Holloway in New Orleans. But you can make that argument. I'm not making that. If you're Ilia Topuria, you might make that.
Meanwhile, Jason Mayhem Miller voiced his surprise and shock upon hearing that Islam Makhachev vacated his belt. He found it insane, calling out the chaos unfolding in the MMA world. He also weighed in on Ilia Topuria, pointing out that Charles Oliveira must embrace the fear heading into their fight, emphasizing just how dangerous Ilia is as an opponent.
What is going on in the world? Wait, why would Islam vacate? No, let's not get to that. Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria, who just coming up in weight, and his first fight is Charles Oliveira. Yo, that's a big look. I don't know how this guy fits his balls inside his cup. Ilia Topuria has no fear. He might get battered. He might get snapped. I don't know. Or what? He's coming with the hands of fury and just touches up our great champion, Charles.
Voicing his support for Ilia Topuria, Miller acknowledged Charles Oliveira as one of the best survivors in the sport, but expressed doubt about his chances against Ilia, noting that everyone seems to be backing Topuria at the moment. He went on to suggest that Ilia's move up to lightweight is a brave step, though he raised concern, pointing out that it could also end up being a risky or even foolish decision.
Charles is a survivor. He's a cowboy for real. So it's gonna take more than just a little pit-pat, pitter-pat from a 145er. And Ilia is just now going up in weight. I mean, I know he had a tremendously hard time making the weight before, and now 55, it'll be easy, but to go up an entire weight class is very, very brave or stupid.
Well, who do you favor in that?
I don't know. I'm like, can't bet against Charles guy. But ask me in like after I watch a little more and figure it out a little more. You know what I mean?
Study some tape.
But everybody's on the Ilia train. I get it. Everyone's all hyped up for him, but people don't realize what a big step up it is. That 10 pounds is a big step.
Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev shared his thoughts, stating that he would have loved to watch a fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. He called it a massive matchup that everyone wanted to see. Praising both fighters, Chimaev also voiced his disappointment over the current situation, noting that despite his strong desire to see the fight, there's nothing he can do to make it happen now.
Ну, как зритель.
Зритель, я особо так, как раньше, там сверхъестественно сидеть, смотреть все бои.
Да.
Конечно, Ислама бой, Топури бой, это самые одних их, которых сейчас разговаривают, хотят фанаты этот бой. Наверное, я посмотрел, как фанат, был бы классно. Хороший бой получился, было бы хорошие бойцы, хорошие и достойные друг друга.
Ну, громкий бой был бы как будто.
Echoing the same desire to see a fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, MMA Guru noted that things have taken a wild and somewhat hilarious turn. He admitted that the upcoming matchup between Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria isn't a bad one, but expressed uncertainty about how Ilia will perform after moving up to lightweight, pointing out that he's still a smaller fighter compared to others in the division.
Of things and how they should be. But I love Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. And you know what? I don't even mind an Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira in the meantime for a title shot. I think that there's a theory about, you know, if there's a belt on the line, it's much bigger.
Yeah.
But people just love the two names.
On the other hand, Demetrius Johnson has raised no concerns about Ilia Topuria moving up to fight Charles Oliveira. He asserted that Ilia's natural weight is around 195 pounds, so if cutting weight has been manageable for him, moving up shouldn't be an issue. Johnson also noted that with this move, Ilia would still carry enough power to compete with the best in the lightweight division.
It'll be interesting because he is bigger from when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast, like 191, I think he was walking around. That's massive. So for him to cut to 145, it just seems almost like, how did he do that? But now that he's going up to 155, I always like when athletes go up heavier to their natural weight, right? Like him cutting to 145, that's not natural. He was able to do it. It's almost like Conor when he was cutting to 145, he was looking at Skeletor, you know, knocking on the desk door. Then he went to 55. I was like, okay, this feels good. He beat Eddie Alvarez, and then, you know, Conor, you know, went off and fought Floyd. Shit was history. But I think he's gonna look good at 155. I think he's gonna have to deal with, you know, people look good when they fight people who are there in the same size. I'll never forget Frankie Edgar when he started fighting guys at 135.
At the same time, Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub discussed the recent changes, noting that a fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria would have been even greater, a truly tough matchup. Brendan pointed out that while Islam would be a very difficult opponent for Ilia, he does see Ilia beating Charles Oliveira. However, he also believes Islam would likely have the same result against Ilia. Brendan highlighted the possibility of Islam eventually returning to 1555 to face Ilia in the future.
Everyone wanted Islam versus Ilia. That's the biggest fight outside John Jones Aspinall. That's what everyone wanted. Like, what? The Charles fight, I think he dog walks him. Islam has a much tougher fight, I think, against JDM. But if they both win, you can. I think there's the best of both worlds. You're still going to get Islam Ilia. I think that's definitely going to happen.
At 55 or 7?
I don't know.
I feel like
probably 55. I bet Islam would come back down.
Brendan noted that moving up in weight classes is a good decision for both Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. He asserted that cutting weight takes a serious toll on the body, so moving up could bring out a different and better version of Islam. He said the same could apply to Ilia Topuria. Brendan emphasized that for Islam, cutting down to lightweight had become nearly impossible, so the move up makes perfect sense.
And for Islam, they're big for the weight class, so it's going to be so much better. And we're going to see how good they are because they're not going to have the restraints of cutting weight, because cutting weight depletes your body of all your nutrients. It's horrible for you. So Ilia's going to be a better version. Islam's going to be a better
Ilia
version.
has a really hard time.
So going up's better. Going down's way tougher.
Ilia has a really hard time with
like
that.
Makhachev could never make 45. That's never happening. It's literally impossible.
As the MMA world buzzes with reactions to the moves of Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, Islam's manager Ali Abdelaziz confirmed that Islam will be even better and more refined than ever while competing in the welterweight division. He emphasized that no one has achieved the kind of value, winning streak, and highlight reel knockouts, like the head kick finishes and dominant performances that Islam has. Ali firmly stated that Islam fully deserves this move and predicted he will be a major problem for the entire welterweight division.
But right now, Islam he's gonna go fight for a second title. Well deserved. Nobody in the UFC right now in any division doing what Islam Makhachev do. Finishing guys on this level, putting on unbelievable fight, knocking people out with head kicks, you know. Just smack.
And that's it for today's deep dive into one of the wildest shakeups in MMA. Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria both moving up, title belts left behind, and a beef that's turning personal fast. From Ali Abdelaziz's bold claims to Michael Bisping and Brendan Schaub weighing in, and with even Khamzat and Mayhem Miller chiming in, this saga is just getting started. What do you think? Is Islam dodging Ilia or making history? Can Ilia truly hang with the lightweights, or is Charles Oliveira about to humble him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button, share it with your fight crew, and of course subscribe for more UFC drama, analysis, and all-out chaos from the world of MMA.